Hey guys, good evening. Enjoyed your week. I've got a story here I read, Carolina Journal. It's Charlotte City Council nearly votes to deny ammunition purchase for law enforcement. This was March of last year, so about a year ago. Um, you know, it's about a city council meeting. Ammunition purchase for CMPD nearly did not pass. Initial votes for the purchase only garnered 4 yes votes out of the 11 council members present. The vote passed on second attempt 6-1. An email statement out Carolina Journal, Councilman Tariq Bakari, who was instrumental in securing the votes, explained how the vote came about in the first place and the consequences that would have resulted had it not passed. The measure was part of the council's larger consent agenda for the meeting. Most bodies have a consent agenda, specific purchases they already anticipated needing. This is average day-to-day operation stuff. We always says these are items we approve all at one time. Aside from reading through and occasionally making a comment, don't spend time on. The last few years, things started being pulled out by several Democrats for separate votes. They used to beat up on staff and attempt to get some press coverage for or against something. It usually just ends up being wasted everyone's time, has then impacts like last week. So Councilman Braxton Winston pulled a consent item on buying police ammunition for a separate vote. So separately, but personally preparing for the most controversial items coming up, quickly answered the item. He's pulled the voting started, police ammunition, and he glanced around the room and saw only 4 yes votes were cast, showed that the 6 needed to pass anything. In a bit of shock, I turned on my mic, asking this police what he was going to do. I collected myself, took a second to explain. Emphasize it's the kind of training that this is a statewide requirement to complete firearms. They have to do this to be police. This is like having gas in your car. This is like having insurance. This is, Bakari said we were lucky to get the 6 votes we needed, and Winston ultimately refused to vote the ammunition. Later in the week, on April night, I want to watch that. Winston provided loose responses, including we should be spending more money on de-escalation, and teachers have to buy their own supplies. Bakari emphasized the importance of making routine purchases like the police ammunition item issue and be effectively trained to do their job. It's about the rising crime. Overall crimes increased by 3%. Property crime went up 6%. Violent crimes to a decrease of 5%. I don't understand that. But the homicide clearance rate is at 75%, 75.7%, which is higher than the national average of 61%. This vote had failed. We probably would have been made fun of by the media, potentially garnering even national recognition for stupidity. It's happened many times before. I mean, I'm not sure people would have been that surprised. The impact is far more devastating, and it has the best of our communities asking the question, is it even worth it to keep doing this job? While we dodged the bullet in this vote, the damage was still done. Some damage we've been inflicting on the morale of the police department for the last 3 years. Showing through our words and actions, they don't have top-down support, villainize and throwing them under the bus exact moments they need us most. So retention and recruitment rates are massive lows. That's what makes it even worse, if it's even possible, is the fact Charlotte is experiencing significant volumes of violent crime, home break-ins, murders. At the same week as this vote, a third shooting at a mall that closed Apple Store announced they're closing their doors for safety. There's a lot of reasons why the crime is occurring, but I'm convinced, completely convinced, it's driven by the tone we set in Charlotte. He's right. And ultimately, they do set the tone. Ultimately, city government sets the tone for what's going to happen. John Kennedy made it very clear that people are going to vote and decide on the kind of law enforcement they want and the criminals they deserve. And that's really what that is. I think about moving back to Charlotte sometimes. And it's weird. This week they just found a lady. I think a lady and her kids were murdered and buried at their apartment complex. They were found, and the guy flew to California. They brought him back. I guess for some reason I needed to read that just to see. It's one thing that you don't have the people you need. There's a lot of reasons for that. It's another thing for you to, hold accountable, body cams and all that. But you expect him to do the job, taking away the equipment and the techniques that state of North Carolina has decided is lawful, tear gas, things like that. Then you want to take away the bullets? It just, to see the violence in Charlotte on a regular basis, to see the crime, to see the type of actions taking place, it does make a person wonder, what's the point? I can't, I will always, in my heart, be from there. But the idea of, we had this discussion in 2020 with the George Floyd protests. And the discussion was about making it where police would be accountable. Signal. If you draw your gun, the camera comes on automatically, more training and all that. And to see that whole discussion, and I know I'm different than most people. I follow these things. Most people just, moment in time, they don't care about the A leads to this. 1 + 1 = 2. Most people don't follow that stuff. They just read it on. But it bothers me that whole discussion led us to the point to where city councilmen are trying to make it where a city police department doesn't have bullets for training. The tax on Cop City, I support it. These cities are already too expensive as it is. The discussion was always about more training. It was always about that. So these areas people live in, you're setting aside an area for them where it's safer. They can work, they can live, whatever. And you want to make it to where they can't train out there? The one in Atlanta, as I understand, that was a prison ground. There's nothing out there that's endangered or special. So you go out and throw fireworks at police officers? Hell yeah, that's terrorism. You're throwing M80s at cops and you wonder why they're charging? I looked at this stuff and it shocks me that anyone could see that and think that's legitimate behavior. That's not a protest. That's crime. That's crime. It just like I said, once again, it just makes you wonder, what's the point? What's the point? Why try? And worse, you get in a situation, you have to shoot somebody, ain't nobody got your back. The sad thing is these cities like Charlotte, that's the sad thing about it. When you look at the guy that shot a police officer, he shot a cop and got a bail of $30,000 or something. 50, that's nothing. Nothing. At least you talk about they raised the bail. It's just, it just, these areas, these judges, they'll be there forever. Oh yeah. Because nobody cares about that kind of stuff. Nobody cares. These people, they'll stay in there forever. They'll be in there 20 years from now. The same people who are letting out murderers on an electronic monitor. Yeah. Same people out here letting out murderers on ankle monitors. Yeah. It's just, it bothers me. It's frustrating. It's an outrage that people can play with the lives of people who swear oaths to protect us. It just makes one wonder, because sometimes you say some of this cop shit, you're like, oh, well, this cop, he had it coming. Or you look at it, you're like, man, he was running his mouth. He shouldn't have said this. Or he shouldn't have done that. But now you're making it literally to the point that you're and the thing is, think about it. If they've done this once, they'll do it again. I used to listen to Sputnik, and they would talk about George Soros, and George Soros, if you want to do business in your country and you try to stop him, you make a law to stop him, that he'll fund social movements to overthrow you. And I heard that stuff back in 2020, and Excuse me. And I just thought that was just nuts then. And now it's like, yeah, it's some of this stuff. I mean, it makes me think, yeah, there is some shadowy people in the background who want to do things to make government in America unstable on both sides. The capitals, the right, yeah, it's the same thing with the drag queens, all this stuff, the elections. Yeah, this is it's all this. I was reading them today. The guy that Trump is pushing for, I guess, for the Ohio to be the governor or something out there. He had some kind of a account on a gay dating site, like 2008. He's against gay marriage, but he was on there and they looked into it and they said, yeah, he lived in Fort Lauderdale. He had family, had a house out there. His email was on there. Yeah. And then when they caught him, he's like, oh, well, I have a wife and kids. And they just want to make a weak president, not responding to the point. Because he isn't talking to us. So I realize that this is, it does seem like elements are trying to destabilize society. And that's the way to do it. That's one of the ways to do it. It's a shame. And it isn't what I believe the left should be. Listen.